Hi guys, thanks everybody and good morning to everyone. We're going to kick off now and get started. I'm Jo Swadling. I'm the finance practice lead at Cattle Dog Digital, along with our incredible team of Salesforce and FinancialForce experts. We help innovative businesses through their full funnel digital transformation journey and help them achieve long-term business goals. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. We're looking forward to sharing some of our insights and to hear from our incredible guests today. We'll be chatting about ERP best practices and helping you take control of your business with a full end-to-end solution. A few little housekeeping items before we get started. We'll be chatting for around about 30 minutes for the webinar, and there'll be time at the end for any questions that you have. Please, as we go through, feel free to post your questions into the chat, and we'll try to respond as we go, as well as at the end of the session. And look out for an email from us at the end of the webinar. We'll be sending through some resources to help you out along with your optimization journeys. I'd like to introduce to you today our two guest speakers. First of all, we have Dan Bartels from FinancialForce. He's the Regional VP of Sales at FinancialForce for APAC region, and Harry Battal, the CFO at Melbourne Market Authority. Dan has a wealth of experience in sales and marketing. He's been a leader for, I don't want to say how many years, Dan.
Too long.
Too long, very, very, very true. He's worked with organizations of all shapes and sizes, from startups to enterprise. He's also an entrepreneur, having owned his own business. And thanks for being with us today, Dan. And thank you. And Harry is a great friend of Cattle Dog Digital. He's a CFO of Melbourne Market Authority, a state government-run authority here in Melbourne. He's a strong finance background, although he did sort of start his journey in software engineering of all things, and he thought that was too boring. I don't know why, and decided that accounting was more his game. He's here to share with us some of his journey with Melbourne Market Authority. Thanks to you as well, Harry, for being with us today. So excited to get started. Thank you, guys. So let's get into it. Today, we're going to be talking about what we've seen most common across our customers, and even across our previous experience in the business world. We've almost every customer that we encounter today are struggling with very similar concerns, and those are that they're working in silos. They're struggling with systems that just don't talk to each other, or are just trying to manage their business with lots of manual manipulation. And essentially, they take so long to bring everything together that they're flying blind. They can't make decisions quickly, or they have to run on gut instinct sometimes. We've seen this all for over and over and over again. It's a very similar story from one customer to the next. Dan, what do you see with the customers that you come across with FinancialForce?
Yeah, thanks, Jo. Look, we obviously see a wider range of different types of organisations. One of the key features we see from almost every conversation that we have is, at some level, every organisation has breakdowns in its systems. And one of the things that I think is a really interesting thing for organizations to understand is the systems aren't necessarily the technology that you're talking to us to buy. The systems are how your organization operates and runs. What are the rules? What are the processes that you've defined to get either a transaction to occur, or in Harry's case, to deal with it's a government organization, and how do I deal with these bodies or constituents that are coming in through my through the service that I'm running? How do all of those things happen? One of the things that we see as a breakdown for organizations is who owns and controls those. And one of the pieces that we also see as a key breakdown is organizations understanding the currencies that they pay to run these machines with. And what I mean by that is there are always three currencies that you pay to do anything with. And it's not just by our software or any other system, it's to run your organization. The first currency you pay with is cash. It's clear, I pay for people, I pay for resources, but the other two are much, much more expensive than cash. Their time and their effort. So how long does it take for you to get a process to happen or to change a process? How much effort do my internal people or do my customers or my stakeholders have to invest to get things to happen when they engage with me? And what does that mean for either my growth or my delivery or the outcomes that I'm trying to achieve? And so often people become focused back on what am I going to spend from a cash perspective? And this might be as simple back to who are the people that I'm recruiting into my organization that actually can affect change and affect outcome, right? And we get so focused on the dollars and really miss the most expensive currencies that are time and effort. And I think they're, for me, some of the really critical things behind it. And so when you look to technology solutions like FinancialForce or Salesforce or anything in the marketplace, how does that deliver or augment exactly what it is you're trying to deliver from a business perspective, what your vision is? And if those things are really clear, the technology is simple behind the scenes.
Do you think that a lot of businesses come from a history of maybe from mergers and acquisitions, or they've just evolved over the time and they haven't noticed how they've changed, and processes just become so different from one area of the business to the next? It's almost like it's separate businesses operating with the one name.
I think it's even simpler than that. And this is an analogy that I give to all of my team on a consistent basis, and they're probably sick of hearing it. We all talk about being on the same page. I want to have a meeting internally and I want everybody to be on the same page. It's impossible for you to be on the same page if there isn't a page.
Oh, very true.
and we all miss this really key concept. So, Salesforce have some great architecture talking about things like a customer 360, and these are great terminologies, but fundamentally, what is it? I'm trying to get my customer information and all of that onto a single page. I'm trying to break, so we talk about separate silos and breaking these down. I don't want there to be 50 pages. I don't want there to be 10 places to go and find it. I want everyone who interacts around this agreement that we have with an organization or a deliverable or a process to fundamentally understand what it is we're doing, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, and how do we get there? So if I want everyone to be on the same page, there better be a page.
The page needs to be written. Yeah, it's awesome.
And so when you talk about where the companies break this down, that's what they're all trying to solve. Their legacy systems are, or their legacy processes, or what they did before. Why I do things because that's how it's always been done here. Okay, is that the right way to do it? Is everybody on the same page that we should do that? You close the book and all of a sudden everyone's saying, I really don't like the way we do this, and it's a silly process. Let's all get on the same page and change it.
Yeah, absolutely. Harry, first of all, can you tell us a little bit about the Melbourne Market Authority, and then maybe tell us, how did the MMA bring themselves to write that page to get your organisation aligned?
Well, hi everyone. The Melbourne Market Authority is basically the main fruit, vegetable and flower market in Melbourne. We supply all fresh fruit, vegetables and flowers across a range of industries, be it restaurants, be it greengrocers and florists. And effectively, we have moved to our new Epping site from our West Footscray site. It's been about 5 years, and part of that upgrade meant that we've got a brand new facility that's state of the art. Unfortunately, perhaps the digital side was a bit lacking, and we had a lot of legacy systems there that were all sort of tacked on and weren't really, communicating to one another, such as our fixed asset management system, our repairs system, our billing system, all really didn't talk to one another, and we needed to sort of bring that all into a one house, one stop shop. So we started a journey and we chose Salesforce and being on the cloud, and part of that also involved, bringing in FinancialForce and Cattle Dog to help implement that process. And it's been a journey to say the least, and it means
to say the least.
And what it really does is it connects a lot of the systems, in there, and we have about 9,000 people that use the market with access cards. We have about 5,000 registered businesses. So we've got a lot of data that's held within the market, held within the digital space, and they all really need to connect to one another and be in a way where if someone's utilizing one space, and that's the part where Dan mentioned, we're fully utilizing the new task and the chatter options where if our property team wants to speak to a customer, all those document notes are on there. It's connecting with our accounts receivable, it's connecting with our maintenance guys, all those sort of integrated process. And that's why we began the journey, and we're pretty much almost there. We're probably about 85-90% there, and we're really loving the tool that's there.
Is there any areas of the business that you think that it was more process than system that you made that change like easier to work with? Is it process, or is it the combination of the technology that helped?
Well, obviously the back office is full of paper, and it used to be full of a lot of paper pre-COVID, and now COVID has really changed the way we operate, and we're moving to more of a digital space. And part of it is how our customers interact with us. And we've got a lot of parking spots where florists or fruit and veg buyers will have to go in there, and effectively they can apply for a parking spot within the Salesforce sort of platform. They'll be able to get allocated a car park spot that's not someone else's car park spot, which is always a problem, and talk to one another and says, no, that car park spot's there. And then it basically creates an opportunity, creates the billing contracts, to which then it comes to our AR team, who then invoice it out. And effectively those touch points there are really becoming seamless. And previously it was a lot of paper, a lot of manual entry, a lot of typing in this person's details and that stuff, whereas having it all on there, or getting the customer to fill in those details, really saves time.
Do you think that have the customers responded really well to that? Have they adapted to that change? Have they seen a difference?
The Melbourne market probably has generational market users, where you have grandparents who perhaps are a bit more old school and deal a lot with the cash, and then you have the sons who are effectively in that middle space. Then the younger generation are really the ones who are going to take over the Melbourne market and really adapt to this technology. They're the ones that are utilizing Salesforce and invoicing on their phones. They're the ones that have integrated their businesses with us really well. And it's really just trying to teach some of the other market users the benefits of having this technology there, and effectively logging in and seeing all the details there.
And you were telling us an example earlier that having that technology, that visibility for your team, even with COVID times, has helped you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your the COVID safe plans, I think you're calling it? Yeah.
Exactly. So in Melbourne, unfortunately, we all have to wear masks. Indeed
we do. I've got mine sitting here.
There's a market logo. They need to be worn at all times. However, obviously, some market users, do not need to wear a mask. And effectively, what we can do is once they notify us, we can put all those details on their access card that's integrated with our market relationship officers. So these people go around with their iPads, and because it's all cloud-based, they can view that customer's details and say, hey, Joe Blow, why are you not wearing a mask? And they'll say, oh, I'm exempt, and pull up their details, and yes, there it is there. Or alternatively, on the WorkSafe, a lot of businesses are required to have a COVID safe plan, and effectively, we're able to quickly switch on that functionality. Have you sent us a COVID safe plan? Does it adhere to what it's meant to look like? Yes or no? And basically chase the customers that are there. And it's really helped in that sort of sense. And COVID really has impacted the Melbourne market. We've offered about $2.7 million in refunds across the board. And to keep that, we've basically used Salesforce. And you have to submit part of your process as BAS returns. You have to submit your JobKeeper status, and all that sort of being stored in a way where it's confidential and able to be processed in a timely process from our property team down to our AR team. And we're all talking to one another, and we're trying not to chase a customer that is within that vicinity of COVID impact.
Wow, that's really, really a powerful story that you could sort of start to pivot that way. Do you think that having with using the previous systems or your previous sort of technology stack, how would that have been able to be done in that sort of environment? Do you think that having that end-to-end solution has been able to help you pivot and support the market users better?
In the past, it would literally have been the MRO. We found an iPad, would have got the customer's details, would have written them down on an infringement form, which is paper-based. Would have gone back into the office, would have corresponded and checked those those details against our old systems, and looked up if they actually had a COVID safe plan that someone would have manually entered in. And effectively, it just wouldn't work, because they'd be constantly going backwards and forwards with the customer and the tenant. Whereas having that information there on that iPad, having the details there, really just saves a whole bunch of time and says, yep, no worries, move along.
And it's been much better experience for the customer. They know that the information's at hand. So yeah,
there is a lot of frustrations, and especially around COVID, and everyone is mindful of that. But if we can ease that pain, then definitely.
That's a great story. Thank you, Harry. So I think that sort of shows us the example that bringing together systems into one place, especially a cloud-based solution, like obviously FinancialForce is one of our favorites. We're very familiar with the Salesforce platform, and FinancialForce end-to-end is fantastic. But solution aside, I think bringing that all into a space that everyone can see, everyone can access is the way to move forward, have that solid foundation. Dan, what do you see with other customers with, where they potentially have those point solutions that really still need to exist in a business, and how do they align that with trying to have that common foundation, that consolidation? What have you seen?
It's a really good question, Joe. We see this on a regular basis. So dependent upon the age of your organization or your size, etc., are you owned by a global parent, or you're a recent acquisition, or you've just got different requirements within a particular division? I am yet to see a customer that has 100% end-to-end solution on the Salesforce platform, or in anyone else's platform for that matter. Really, the driver here is around, how do I limit the number of external systems, or how do I allow my internal organization to have the right user experience internally to do exactly what Harry was talking about? There are drivers of payment systems that are coming from elsewhere. We're not a credit card provider as FinancialForce, but I've got to take a credit card payment. How do I make that seamless? How do I ensure that I lower the barrier for people just doing their job and doing it effectively, and not putting unnecessary checkpoints or stops into what we're trying to do. One of the really interesting things that happened over the last 12 months is everybody's understood the parts of the projects that they did 5 or 6 years, over the last 5 or 6 years, but they didn't close that kind of last 5%. I didn't put an approval process in because I can yell across the office at Jimmy and Jimmy can say, fine. That's now 10x harder than it was, and it's slowing down process and it's impacting customer experience. But then I've not thought about what type of reporting or analytics that I want to make really fast decisions. And I need people who I'm not seeing all the time around the water cooler to get a picture of what I'm doing in my job, or I need to understand what they're doing in their role and how that impacts everything that we do. One of the important parts about finance processes and even professional services processes that we also focus on, or billing, it's always downstream. It's after you've made a decision with a customer around entering into some sort of engagement, even if it's as simple as Harry's example of an infringement notice. The tracking of, now I'm going to bill you some money, happens after the rest of the integration.
Yeah,
so or the rest of the experience with the constituent. I've now got to have all of those pieces locked in precisely. I need to know exactly what I'm billing them. I need to know how they're going to pay. Is it going to the right person? What are the terms? Does the invoice look right? So I've got to get all of those bits correct. So, I think when we look at the overall system, your back office process is a difficult piece. And, I give the analogy of, if I look at it, most front end processes can be close enough. But your back office process, it's a little bit like a heart and lung transplant. You have the best surgeon in the world, but if you don't do the work and get it right, it's going to hurt.
Absolutely.
You really need to do the right work around it. And on those pieces, it's about spending the time and effort and planning it out properly, getting some experts like Cattle Dog or others to really get in and show you how to make it work. One of the other things that we see as a real challenge for lots of organizations is they really try and work out the destination before they get there. And anyone, any good Sherpa will tell you it's as much about the journey as it is the destination.
Yeah.
And one thing in business is there's no fixed destination. Nobody planning in their strategic roadmap 3 years ago in a business would have said, hey, as a board, it's on my risk matrix that says we need to consider, if I'm closing the whole of Melbourne and a global pandemic happens, what do I do? That wasn't on your plan. That wasn't there. But you have to pivot to be able to deal with it. And I think that's a lot of the things that organizations struggle with, is they try and lock away too many of those things rather than bringing smart partners like Cattle into the process to say, let's just get going. Let's understand we've built some good foundation about what we want to get as an organization. We're going to have to organically work some of these things out. What can the technology support? How much change can our business take on? And let's start to roll with those phases over time. Probably a good overview of some of the, lots of bits of the platform and how they solve it, Joe. But
yeah.
Back to you.
So Harry, is the journey still going for you?
The journey definitely is going for us, and part of that is it's really businesses now to customers driving the business. And what we envisage, from our community portal is, for instance, if a market user stumbles upon a leaky pipe, instead of informing a market relationship officer who then logs that call, they've got the ability to perhaps log that case ID automatically via their own sort of community portal part. Then that gets allocated to our facility manager. Our facility manager then logs it to the subcontractor. The subcontractor goes there and fix that leaky pipe by scanning the QR code that's attached to there, does the hours, and effectively his contracted hours are all already inputted in Salesforce. The moment he logs back off there, it effectively should send the billing document to our AP person for approval to myself, and I go and pay that amount. And then effectively, once we build this data all up, we'll be able to know, what assets really need to be replaced, which ones need to be repaired. We can do a timing of, how long does it take for, that person to repair a pipe. And it's really those sort of processes, those KPIs now that we're starting to build upon that we wouldn't have had in our old systems.
So you start to be more proactive and you're supporting your market users before they even know that they need that support.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
And then the market user knows that we fixed that plumbing issue of their advice, and they feel more connected with the market. They've got buying, and how this operate, how this business is run, and they feel more valued in terms of where they are. And instead of us trying to tell them how to operate their business, they're telling us how to operate our business and what we need to fix and what we need to repair, which is great.
Awesome. So yeah, what we recommend is that the all those disparate systems, those processes, that with what I think Dan called it the Sherpa, with your leader, your Sherpa, guiding you along that path, taking that into a full stack solution. Obviously, we love the Salesforce platform, so Salesforce platform is our example here, but it doesn't need to be that. The technology is probably secondary. It's getting visibility so you're not flying blind. I think that's where we might wrap it up today. Before we finish up, Dan or Harry, do you have any hot tips for somebody embarking on this journey? Harry?
I suppose from our point of view, you really need to nominate a project manager. And like Dan said, it's good to revisit what's working well for your organisation and what's not working well. Really migrate the elements that are working well, and you need that project manager there to basically prioritise those tasks, that sort of lead person that go to. And I know for ourselves, I was the CFO previously, and I've taken on that on board. And if you're going to take that on board, make sure your role's backfilled, because it's very hard to basically train a lot of the organisation whilst they're in their old system and trying to utilise the new system. And it's really just trying to prioritise those tasks and hopefully try to run as much parallel runs that you can do, and with data that's actually applicable to your business.
Yeah, data is key. Dan?
Yeah, look, my main tip for people embarking on these types of journeys is don't try and work out where you're going before you get good advisors involved. Don't come with a predefined expectation of like the worst engagements we see are where there's a 50-page list of requirements of how many I's is it dot and T's is it cross. The reality is they're the wrong questions, and all those things will be answered over time for you, but you've got to work out where you're going first, and the way you do that is education. So let partners or vendors like FinancialForce, others in the market, Catadog, educate you first, and then with those partners build out what the real drivers are going to be. You will be in a much better foundation as to where am I going to end up in the short, medium, and long term, rather than trying to do a whole heap of work before you get educated on what it is. And it's a little bit like if I had the context of one of Henry Ford's first motor vehicles, and that's what I was writing a set of requirements on, and I just didn't know that Teslas existed yet. My list of requirements aren't going to fit where the market's at. So get yourself educated. That's where I really focus on. I think there's a couple of questions here, Joe, as well.
Yep. I think we've got a question here to how do you keep the team motivated and going through that long-term project, and how do you stay efficient and productive throughout that process? Harry, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I suppose it's selling the vision of what the end product might look like. That's really key to the person that's utilizing that task. I might be doing X, Y, Z, and I've only known that process my whole life, and that's what it's always been. And you expect me to do something different, and it's really trying to say to them, hey, once you get this up and running, you'll be able to see this, and you'll be able to communicate with your customer at this point of view, and really sell that end vision. It's going to be hard. I won't lie to you. And when you go through these journeys, you are basically doing two jobs, because you're doing your old job and you're also trying to implement a new system and trying to figure out that new system. And training can only go so far. You really need to be in the system, learning how to all the sort of warts and all of the system while you're utilizing it. And it's really that end vision that this is the reason why we're doing it, to better connect, and that's what
the what's in it for me.
For you. And people always, it is going to be hard, but it's really selling that end vision. And once it's there, there's a moment where you get over that hill and everyone's like, I didn't know I could do this, and I could run this report. And then another team member will say, actually, you can utilize this part of the system, and you can run a dashboard, and this is what it looks like. And that's when that you really integrated a good system.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions we've got in the list there. Thank you very much. Dan, Harry, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great to hear from both of you on your insights of that transformational journey. If you're interested in connecting with any of the team at FinancialForce or learning more about the systems that are available, we've got some contact details there. And if you're interested in hearing more about us at Cattle and how we can help you along that journey, please email us at hello@cattledog.com or visit our website. We're going to send a short survey out to all the attendees, and hopefully you'll be able to get back to us. We've added it also into the chat there, and look out for an email from us following with some good resources to get you on your journey. Thank you so much, and see you everybody next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and shop local, support your farmers.
Absolutely. Cool.